Well, and then kind of the last piece of the Leviathan section. So you'll have kind of a confrontation between Karth and Saul, who knew each other from previous relationship, and then you also have the big reveal. Luke, do you have any sort of ideas what an interpretation of the reveal could look like if it was going to show up on screen or on a episode of a good Knights of the Old Republic TV show, or what do you think that would look like, on your TV screen?
The problem is the reveal in Knights of the Old Republic is quite deep. Like, there's a lot of dialogue. There's a lot going on. It's not just like, oh, you're Darth Revan, and then bang, they start fighting. There's a lot of discussion and arguing with Bastila, and then going back to Malak. And I think it would be difficult to be able to really capture that depth of moment in the way that the game does. Because obviously you're talking to Malak and you're like, I'm not Darth Revan, blah, blah, blah. And then Bastila gets involved and she's like, maybe I told a little lie. And then you start having an argument with Bastila about how you feel betrayed. And I think it would be really difficult to capture in a movie. I think you should take away Karth and keep that moment intimate between Bastila, Revan, and Malak. I don't see the need for Karth to be there. He's already had that part with Saul Karath. I think this moment needs that intimacy between those three characters. I think more of it should be about action. Again, like I said, it's really difficult to be able to put that amount of dialogue into a big, shocking reveal. So I think kind of how Darth Vader's was with Luke in Empire Strikes Back. That kind of where the discussion is more done through battle, and maybe Malak is kind of teasing him and making Revan look like he is lesser. Obviously, I think very important is the part where Bastila comes in and saves him, and I think there you can have a really intimate moment between Bastila and Revan that strengthens their bond. And then as you go into the ending, there's more of a connection between the two. But I think it would be difficult. I think the reveal being as important as it is, I think it would be a very difficult thing to get right. But I think, looking at Empire Strikes Back, I think that a kind of a similar approach to Empire would be the best way.
Yeah, I'm kind of on that same side there. What about you, Cassia? Do you have any kind of specifics or just general themes or general sort of, blocking kind of for how this might play out?
Luke brings up some good points. I think I lean more towards Saul being dealt with first, because then Karth can kind of like have it put together for him. And I think when that happens, he would just kind of like be like, I'm not talking to either of you, and just be very closed off.
He doesn't want to talk about it.
Which is really, a reversal from the whole game.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that's how you would be able to kind of keep the scene focused on Malak, Bastila, and Revan. And in the game, you have flashbacks that it really hammers it home. And I'm kind of leaning towards not having the flashbacks. I would say if the movies have done their job, you buy the moment when it happens and it makes sense. And in my mind, I would start the third film with Bastila's Jedi Strike team finding Revan in the first place. So it's a bit of a flashback there. And then you kind of see the moment happen when she saves him. And then you kind of see the lead up to the beginning of Knights of the Old Republic 1. So in my mind, I would save the flashbacks for then. But yeah, Empire did it simply. But I mean, if the dialogue, kind of just, is smart, you kind of just have the breadcrumbs throughout, so you don't need to have, the flashbacks, where you literally see Revan take off his mask. But I'm not opposed to it, but I'm just thinking if you do your job well, you can just have dialogue and focus on the moment happening in front of you. And in my mind, like, Bastila saves the rest of the crew. I think she thinks she's going to die, but she's not in a good headspace because, like, looking at the story of movie 2 or adaptation 2, volume 2, you know, whatever it is. But her father died. She's been keeping secrets from, like, an ex-Sith Lord that she's fallen in love with. The Jedi Council is, like, kind of a bad parent, and she's been trying to grow and stuff. So she's not in a mentally good headspace. So
she's easily manipulable at this point in the story.
Yeah, very malleable. Yeah. And I think, like, she's going to try to use battle meditation, try to win the fight. And like you were kind of saying earlier, like, Jedi don't really know how to, like, experience and control their emotions. They're just taught to suppress them. So when they are there, like, sometimes they go overboard. And in my mind, like, Bastila would, like, not realize she's kind of tapping into the dark side. And in my mind, like, maybe the Jedi that did survive tried to send a Jedi Strike team to get her. But because she's using the dark side, her battle meditation ends up killing them. So then she feels guilty, and then she's like, kind of, Malik's able to be like, look at what they've done to you. And
I actually think that's really a really interesting way of, because I've always thought the way that, you know, Malik tortures her, and then she's just like, oh, okay, I'm this really sort of evil, seductive, you know, hateful woman, when, like, that wasn't Bastila at all. And it was a very quick kind of change. I actually think the idea of, like, a Jedi Strike team trying to get her, and then she sees, like, her, it could be like her old friends or something, like, she sees them dying due to Malik's sheer power, and then she starts to feel guilt that her friends have died to try and save her, and that's where she becomes even more sort of open to that manipulation. I think that's actually very interesting.
Yeah, because in Knights of the Old Republic, the use of torture in that game, they mention it in Alex Kane's book, like, about the creation of Knights of the Old Republic. It's called Knights of the Old Republic. It's a boss fights book. They talk about how the use of torture in that game was, like, kind of talking about torture in the Iraq War and stuff. So it's kind of a commentary on that. And I was like, maybe it's not the most effective commentary, and, like, but that's where that comes from. So I just try to, like, I try to think things through, like, beat for beat and, like, character motivation and stuff, but that's what I came up with.
I also think your point about how the second one would end with, you know, it starting with the memories, and it sort of starts with the strike team with Revan and Bastila, and then it goes straight back. I also think that's a very good thought.
No, yeah, that's a lot of good stuff there. For me, kind of the way I see the reveal, it's pretty similar to the way Cassie does, but I actually have so Karth is dealing with Saul, and you have kind of the rescue team, you know, HK and Jolie and Juhani, you know, whoever's there kind of doing the rescue. I think you have, like, kind of a 3-front battle, like we have to have in these Star Wars films, right? So you have a couple different confrontations going, but, you know, then obviously the one, you know, kind of front and center of all of this is Malik and Revan and Bastila. But as that fight's kind of coming to an end, Karth's coming in. He's finished off Saul. He's coming in, and I think you have, like, Jolie also coming in. So they're there to witness the reveal. You know, so Karth is feeling very betrayed by, you know, Bastila, him bringing, you know, the Sith Lord Revan, you know, into the party, and, you know, lying to them this whole time. You have Jolie there, who likely knew that this was the case the whole time, and can kind of be, you know, a point of verification for it. But I actually think that it leaves Revan and Bastila on a pretty broken note. I don't think they have a chance to kind of rectify any of what happened, you know, as yeah, everyone else has to kind of flee as Bastila gets swept off by Malik there.
Yeah.
I think, while I think your points make a lot of sense, I think having other people there to witness it takes away from the intimacy of it. That's why, personally, I don't like Karth being there. I don't like that he's in the vicinity when it happens. I would myself. I think that intimacy between those three, that dynamic between the three. I think if you just had it's like, imagine if you're watching Empire Strikes Back, and Luke's on the edge with Vader, and Leia and Han and Chewie are just standing on the other balcony just watching. I think it would take away from that intimate moment between the two, like it's shared between those two, and having other people be involved. I don't know. I don't think it would have the same impact.
Yeah.
Personally,
I guess I'm okay with having Karth there because, like, the trio of KOTOR is Revan, Bastila, and Karth. Like, but I wouldn't want him, like, talking and, like, Karth, that's his time to, like, he doesn't want to talk about it, like, it's like, sit in your corner, you don't want to talk about it, but yeah, that's how I see it.
Yeah, I think just having kind of the other eyes on it really, it just creates a sort of dynamic tension between the group, because obviously they have the loss of Bastila that they're dealing with at this moment, but then kind of this realization that everyone's coming to and having to deal with on their own, in their own kind of heads. I think that that's kind of interesting, and that's where I see it. But I do agree with the point that it's nice to have it just be the three of them. But yeah,
I see where you're coming from. I see what you mean.
I think, like, kind of ending it on a note where, like, I don't want it to be ambiguous that, like, Bastila is falling to the dark side, like, because, like, for me it's not compelling to see her be tortured for, like, half of the third movie and be like, I wonder what's gonna happen, is she gonna turn to the dark side? And then it's like, oh, she turned to the dark side. Like, in my mind, like, the end of movie 2, she's turned to the dark side. Maybe you could even throw in some yellow Sith eyes. Like, I don't know. I think that'd be fun to see in KOTOR, but because I think it just makes for, like, a more interesting build up for movie 3. But then, like, just have, like, I think, like, once Revan kind of realizes, like, Bastila was kind of, like, shady and keeping, like, his identity a secret, I think that kind of breaks the bond, and he's kind of just feeling adrift and, like, learning who he is, and then, like, the Ebon Hawk crew kind of learns about it, and it's kind of confirmed in a way. I can't really think of a good ending shot. Like, what do you guys have any ideas?
I'm trying to come back to me in a minute. I'm trying to think.
Yes. Yeah. So I think kind of the end for me, everyone's back on the Ebon Hawk, and everyone's kind of stewing in their own emotions about what's just kind of happened, and then they make the mention that we're never gonna find Malik unless we figure out where the Starforge is, because that's where he's taken her. So we need to figure out where that is. So they kind of make the decision to go. But I think that, like, the last shot is just a real ambiguous shot of our Revan's kind of face, and you don't really know what he's thinking or which way he's leaning, or if it's about to go real bad for everyone, or if he's going to be able to kind of maintain his composure through this and stay a good light side Jedi affiliated Revan.
I think my last shot would be Bastila. So I would imagine that the shot would be kind of like a panning shot showing Leon with all the crashed starships, and as it's panning, it turns to the temple, and she's at the top of the temple just looking, and I can imagine the camera sort of zooming on Bastila, and then Darth Malak just walking behind her, and then cuts to black.
Okay,
Yellow
I like that.
eyes.
Yeah.
Or maybe the ignition of a red lightsaber or something, like just a bit of drama to make you go, oh, damn. Like this is what's happened to our girl. I think.
I do like that scene. Part of me wonders if like Revan finds the mask in like Bastila's like locker, all a philosopher's stone. No, just kidding. But yeah, hopefully that makes sense. But like,
she's only been out of the party for like a minute and he's already going through her stuff. Come on.
She's dead.
Red flags.
But somehow maybe he could like find like the old mask, and it's like, I don't know, maybe that's a little bit too much, but like,
I think that would actually be interesting though, because like you were talking about the dynamic of, I think Brian was talking about how like, is he going to go down the path of a light or a dark? And you can have that last shot being him finding the mask, and it's sort of zooming on the mask, and like it gives you that like ambiguous ending of like what is he going to choose, because he's found that sort of connection to his past Sith identity, and it leaves it on the edge of like what's he obviously he's gonna choose the light side. At Star Wars it always ends happy, but it kind of gives that ambiguity to the ending.
You get the drama, I just like saying drama, but like his face could be half light, half dark.
Yeah,
and then,
kind of like Kylo's
ended.
was in the Force Awakens. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I toyed around a little bit when we were kind of going through the films, Cassie and I, talking about how he gets his lightsaber hilt at back on Dantooine, but it's kind of in ill repair. So throughout these films, he's kind of doing some repair work on it, and this is finally the first time that it ignites is at the end of the second film.
So like the first time it's ignited throughout the whole movie?
Yeah, of that Revan hilt, with the kind of trident looking thing on top of it.
I see what you mean. So like he's going to use like a generic one throughout the movie, and then he finally has his lightsaber.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah.
I kind of wonder if someone would be able to like fight with that, though. Like,
I actually have one, and it's very difficult.
Yeah.
It is not very comfortable to hold.
It isn't.
That's true.
It is really like you can't, like you can hold it if you held it with two hands and you did like the old original trilogy fighting, then maybe, but like the prequel fighting where there's spins and there's flips, like
not happening.
You couldn't do it with that, no. But it's a beautiful lightsaber.
Yeah, it's cool. I kind of wish that the design for the purple one was used for the red one, though, because it looks more Starforgy.
Mm-hmm.
And like in my mind, it's kind of more like the Starforge is more aligned with the dark side. And I just think that Revan's Sith saber is like so ergonomically designed. If you look at like Qui-Gon's, it's kind of like on that level.
I agree with you. I think the Trident-y Starforgy one should be his Sith saber, and that the other one where it's quite plain, that should be his Jedi one. I mean, I don't like that one. I think it's very simplistic. That's why I adore the Starforge one, because it is very thematic. Like it ties into his story and what he's doing. But I definitely should be connected to his dark side ego rather than his good side, because it just doesn't really make sense him having that weapon that's so Starforge reminiscent while he's destroying. Well, I guess that could be thematic. He has a lightsaber built by the Starforge. I
destroy the Starforge.
Yeah, maybe
with a smaller Starforge. But in my mind, like purple is his lightsaber color, but that he would forge on Dantooine, and it's like, oh, history is repeating itself, But in my mind, like on Dantooine, he would like the lightsaber he creates. It's like half in between, like what his Sith saber looked like and his Jedi saber. Like so then it's like, oh, this could go either direction. Great.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Lightsabers.
Yeah, that's it. That gets the crew off of the Leviathan and on to the next destination. So was there anything about the Leviathan that anyone else wanted to talk about? Anything we missed, or anything that's really important that people need to know about this location in the game or in a film?
Leviathan means creature of the deep. So I guess the whale, or kind of like being swallowed into the belly of the whale, I guess that's a Campbellian conceit, you know, in the hero's journey, and which is where you experience like a death and revelation.
Yep.
So I guess that was intentional on their part when they were writing that. So
The thing is, you probably say you figure that out, and you can see that kind of theme. But if you actually ask the writers, they're probably just like, Leviathan sounded cool, you know.
Sounded
It's
cool.
like
Yeah.
Revan, for example. The name Revan can mean so many different things. You know, it can mean revenge. It can mean revanchist movement. It can mean somebody who takes territory in war. Like, it has so many meanings. But if you actually like talk to the guy that made Revan, he was just like, it was a D&D character that I added into the game. So it's like,
Yep.
it's kind of mad how we can pick through it and go, oh, did the writers mean this? Did the writers mean? It's like being back at school, you know. And it turns out no, they just thought Leviathan just sounded intimidating.
yeah. So, you know, on that note, maybe what we talked about was just, you know, pure nonsense, but maybe the listeners like will find, you know, some gems. You know.
Yeah, let us all know if you found any sort of secret links we didn't put together in our conversation today, for sure.
That's the beauty of individual perspective. Everybody sees things in their own unique way.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so I think that's going to kind of wrap it up for us here. Luke, thank you very much for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time out to come on the podcast and talk all things, you know, Knights of the Old Republic and Star Wars with us.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me on. I love talking about Star Wars. Knights of the Old Republic is my passion, so talking about it with other passionate people is a dream come true. So thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And if people want to check out what you have going on the YouTube channel and on Instagram and any of that stuff, why don't you tell people where they can find you?
You can find me at 100% Star Wars on YouTube. You can find me at 100per Star Wars on Twitter. The internet and social media doesn't like the percent sign in anything, so it's really difficult to get around. Instagram is 100per Star Wars. Just type 100% Star Wars. You'll find me on almost every social media platform.
Well, thank you again for joining us, and we'll talk to everyone next time.
And you can find us on Instagram at Ebon Hawk Podcast.
And if you want to connect with me, I can be found on Instagram at astro_droid_. On Patreon, the link is in our Instagram bio, or you can find it at www.patreon.com/EbonHawkPodcast. The Ebon Hawk can be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, as well as everywhere else that Anchor podcasts are distributed. Subscriptions, reviews, and shares help us out.
Our intro and outro themes were composed by Alistair Shorerman at alistairsounds.wixsite.com/Alistair Sounds. Our transition music was composed by Christian Walker at christianwalkermusic.com. This episode of the Ebon Hawk Podcast has been brought to you by Nikki Dog from Patreon. May the Force be with you. We will be back soon. Bye for now.